So in law enforcement, we have conditions that we live in all the time. And it's color coded. We have condition white, we have condition orange, we have condition red, we have condition black. Condition white for law enforcement is similar to condition green here, which I'm going to get into a little bit. Condition black is when you can't function anymore because you're too scared or whatever. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to take these conditions, change them up a little bit into the civilian life, and give you guys this information on where I think you guys should be or how you guys should be acting at different times throughout the day. That's what the pyramid of personal awareness is. So we have green, which is relaxed, yellow, caution, and red, alert for action. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So in condition green, okay, this is when you're at home, you're in your lounge chair, looking at your tablet, playing on the internet, watching TV, your safe zone, right? This is your safe zone. I'm not saying when you're at home, you shouldn't be aware that there could be bad guys outside your doors, but this is generally your safe zone. When you're asleep and you're in your nice little place that you feel safe. That's condition green. That's relaxed condition. You're going to live most of your life outside of your house in condition yellow. This is caution. Okay? So I think on that little handout that I put, in condition yellow, you should always be look, listen, and sense, right? Those are things you want to do in condition yellow. So you're on alert. So let's say you're just grocery shopping. Should you be on alert when you're grocery shopping?
Yes. Yes.
Why? You're just grocery shopping. That's a silly question, right? Do bad guys have to get groceries too?
Yes.
Do bad guys want to steal your groceries? Yes. Like I said before. What's that? That happened to your dad? Oh my gosh. Got the new one in Edmonds. Yeah. So that was not an Edmonds kind of day, right? So I don't want to talk poorly of Edmonds because I think it's a very, very great city. However, well, no, I'm not even going to say however. I will say they have a Safeway store that I listen to every day, all day, shoplifters and bad guys going into the Safeway store and they're stealing liquor and stealing people's stuff. And it's such a huge issue. I feel bad for those poor Edmonds cops. They're like, I got to go to the Safeway again. It's ridiculous. But yeah, and then there's the new Winco that went up there next to Dick's Drive-In. So condition yellow. You're out shopping. You're out in public. You're at the library. You're here. Everyone should be in condition yellow, right? So condition yellow. Always look, listen, and sense in condition yellow. Condition red is in action mode. This is when something bad is happening. This is when Scary Trent is doing this, and all of a sudden he turns and he's walking towards you. Boom, you just went from condition yellow into condition red because now I need to take some sort of action. Your action may be taking out a siren, holding up a pepper spray, running away. Who knows what it's going to be, but your action is going to be whatever plan you guys develop. You're going to see talking about plans here in just a minute. Whatever plan. So when I'm sitting on a park bench and I have my son with me, or my wife, or both, or I'm in a movie theater, you know what I do before the movie starts? Is I start developing my plan. Okay, am I armed? Yes. If a bad guy comes in and he's got a gun, where is it likely that he's going to come in? Probably behind me. So where are the doors from behind me? Or does this movie theater come all the way to the front and they have to come in through the front? That's where are the exits. Where is it most likely that most people are going to run to? Maybe my mind works a little differently than your guys because I'm a cop and I'm suspicious of every single person in the entire world. I have a plan for all of you people out here. Not really. I just have a plan for Megan because she's the biggest troublemaker. I always have a plan. So in condition red, when that happens, you should already know what you're going to do. Okay? Sometimes you're going to get surprised by a bad guy. You don't have time to develop a plan, but maybe you'll have a generic plan. Maybe your generic plan of if I get attacked by someone and it comes from behind, what am I going to do? Maybe I'll take self-defense classes, and if I get attacked from behind, then I'll have some tricks up my sleeve on how to do that. This is not a self-defense class, it's more of a personal awareness class, but having a plan is important. So is she aware of her surroundings?
No.
You know? So she's, I mean, something bad could happen to her, right? She looks like such a nice person. We don't want anything bad to happen to her. It'd be pretty easy to rip off her arm, whatever she has. It looks like she was shopping for some stuff, but I was just looking through the internet and I found her picture. I don't know who she is, but it's just an example of, it's okay not to have your headphones on all the time. It's okay not to have your head down. She's not on a cell phone, but most people would be on a cell phone. How many husbands here have sat in a shopping mall while their wives, or how many wives have sat in a shopping mall while their husbands are in a store, and they're sitting somewhere and they're just doing this on their phone, playing on the internet? Most people do that. I do that. But it kind of creeps me out a little bit because I'll be like, all right, I got to take a quick look around. It's okay to do that, but look up every now and then and look around, just to make sure there's no bad guys around you.
I'd like to share a story. Sharing is important. We start talking about this, my wife and daughter and my niece, back when, remember the show Laguna Beach? All right, so they were into Laguna Beach. And so we went down to San Diego on vacation and worked our way up the coast. And I was basically the purse holder. As we did shopping at various locations, went to Laguna Beach, ended up in Disneyland. And so they're down in Toontown, everybody in Toontown, right? In one of the gift shops. And there I am holding the purses as my 18-year-old daughter at the time and about my 15-year-old niece were trying on different hats and taking pictures of each other. And so you start talking about behavior, people's behavior, right? And so as I'm watching in a daze and holding the stuff, I'm seeing that something doesn't seem right. And I notice this guy, he's probably about 45 years old, and he's following my niece and my daughter throughout the store. He's got a camera on, strapped around him, and he's just looking at things that are outside of the norm. And it kind of catches my eye, right? And I notice as they're trying their stuff on, he's bending down. And what he was doing, he was taking his cell phone and taking pictures of their skirts. All right, in Toontown and Disneyland. So I'm trying to process this in my mind. And of course, my wife sees that I've got a different look on my face. And now we're in a different moment. And so I go up behind the guys, he's got his pictures, and he's standing in line because he's going to buy a spritzer bottle. And I'm looking over his shoulder, and I see that he's checking out the pictures. All right, so I tap him on the shoulder, and I say, hey, sharing? Why don't you hand that over, right? And the woman behind the counter, we're at the counter now, nice elderly woman with Mickey Mouse ears. She said, well, can I help you? And I said, well, I'm a police officer. You need to get Anaheim Police here. And I tell him, the guy, give me the phone. And he's trying to delete the pictures. And so then we get into this scuffle in the middle of Toontown at Disneyland. And I kept telling him, this ain't happening on the happiest place on earth. But he had been in the park. His wife was out there. This guy is married. His wife was pregnant, and he's in the park doing this type of activity. Now, is this somebody that had done this before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you're creeping in your house looking at stuff you shouldn't be looking at on the computer, that's one thing. But if you're taking this activity out into the public, in Toontown and Disneyland, that's a dangerous individual.
It's a serious hit case.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question about staying attentive and having a plan and things like that. So I have a child with special needs, and he takes 110% of my attention at all times, especially out in public. So trying to be attentive. Most of my plan making is around him and keeping him safe. So is there any advice or tricks or tips on how to keep yourself and your children safe when you're out?
Well, that's a little difficult for me to answer only because special needs folks have, each of them have their own unique special needs. I have a niece who's autistic, and I spent a lot of time with her. But she's fairly high functioning, so I can treat it as if it was any other kid. But if there's a special need that takes 100 or 10% of your time, you're going to have to figure out, adapt to different ways to help yourself. It may require having additional people with you, even if that's possible. But I would hate to speak too much on this topic only because I would need to research and I would need to learn a little bit before we can really come up with some good ideas to help you out there. And I would need to know a little bit more about your situation.
What about just in general when you have children with you?
Well, just in general, when you have children with you, with all children, they're the most important people in your entire lives. And in my opinion, they're more important than myself. So basically, you're going to have a plan for your kids too. For instance, if you are in a situation where you feel comfortable taking action in some sort of criminal activity, and your son or daughter is a teenager or maybe just a little bit younger, you can talk with them and you can say, if this happens, I want you to do this. So if there's a bad guy coming towards us and you see me having to deal with this bad guy because I have a little bit of training and experience, then I want you to run and call for help, or I want you to go to this person's house. Develop a plan, whatever plan you can. You have to know your kids really well. You have to understand what capabilities they have. If it's a baby or a small child, plans are going to change, right? So protecting your children is the most important thing that you could do. And your plan could be run away. Pick up your baby and run as fast as you can to get away from a bad situation. We're going to talk a little bit about run, hide, and fight, and what you should do. And that decision is different for every single person. So for me to tell you what you should do with your situation and whatever age your child is, it's almost impossible because I don't really know you that well. But if we spend some time together, then I can learn your capabilities, I can learn your child's capabilities, and then we can develop a plan together. So that's when going to a personal defense class, self-defense class, might come in handy. So I can give you some basic information about how to protect yourself by developing these plans and by saying, little Joey, if you see me get into a fight with someone, I want you to run to the neighbor's house because we know the neighbor and I want you to do this. Or I want you to run to the nearest police officer. I want you to run, even if it's a stranger, most strangers, they're stranger danger, but most strangers aren't bad guys. Most of them are generally decent people who are going to want to help out. That could be your plan. So that's a big topic, a long conversation. I probably didn't really answer it very long, but we'll talk more about plans here in a little bit. This is a little bit of a lengthy video, which I'm going to skip over, and maybe at the end we'll get to it. But we're going to move into, first of all, personal awareness. Any questions more about personal awareness? Look, listen, and sense, testing boundaries, target glancing, all that stuff. I went over a little bit quickly. But that is so important to your personal safety. Yeah, I can't even explain how important it is. You can protect yourselves just by being aware. Just by saying, something doesn't seem right about that person that's over there, so I'm going to go this way. You may have just prevented an assault. Or, you hear this on the news, see something, say something. Maybe you're not about to be a victim of a crime, but maybe someone else is about to be a victim of a crime, and you think, there's a chance that this guy's going to commit a crime on that person. I'm going to call 911. And the cops get there and they're like, no, we're best friends. There's nothing wrong. That's fine. That's what we're for. We'll figure all that stuff out. So, all right, we're going to get into workplace violence and active shooters. Okay? Has anyone here ever had a job? Okay. Has anyone here ever had a difficult person they've had to deal with in their job? Most people, right? There's difficult people everywhere. Has anyone here ever witnessed workplace violence? Okay? Workplace violence could be someone that has a temper tantrum. Workplace bullying. Has anyone here ever been bullied? You don't have to raise your hand on this one, but there's bullying in the workplace too, right? And bullying can come from physical, or emotional, or words, or whatever it might be. So we're going to talk a little bit about workplace violence, how to recognize if one of your coworkers is about to have a really bad day. Okay? This is where our plans start coming in. So I'm not going to talk necessarily about the coworker who's kind of a pain in the butt, who's difficult to talk with, who maybe says rude things. I'm going to talk about the coworker who's going to go, as they say, postal, right? Is that the term that people used to use? I'm talking about the worker that freaks out and gets a gun and comes back and wants to hurt people. That's what we're going to talk about. And I want to talk about how you guys can protect yourselves in these situations. And this is where, when the chief said have a plan, you're going to hear me start talking about having a plan. This is where this really, really starts coming into play. So first of all, you want to know your vulnerability in your workplace. Most workplaces are some sort of office building environment, or school, or there's a desks and stuff like that, walls and bathrooms. Most workplaces are that way. So some of the things you need to be aware of. Are you in a position of authority over people? Do you have to make decisions that are unpopular and that make people who work for you angry? Okay? Some people do. If you have a person who has some mental health issues and you make them unhappy, who knows what they're up to? Can we, as, how do I say this? Can someone, it's difficult to understand how a crazy person thinks, right? Because we're not crazy people. Some of you guys probably are not crazy people. Maybe I am a little bit. But I can't understand how a crazy person thinks, or I can't understand how a person with mental illness thinks. I can't understand how a murderer thinks. I can't understand why people would commit suicide. I don't understand it other than theories and books and investigations that I've had, just because that's not my brain. So when a coworker decides he wants to come back and murder everyone that he works with, I don't understand that. I don't understand why is it they're doing this. So it's hard for me to really wrap my brain around it. So rather than trying to figure that part out of it, I'm just going to know that this is a possibility that this could happen. Okay? I could go to psychology classes and I could learn to understand people who think this way. But for me, I haven't done that yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to know how to protect myself when these people do these horrible things. So do I have a position of authority if I've made people angry? Do I have coworker issues? Is there someone who hates me in the workplace so bad that they threaten me? Is there a former employee with a grudge, right? That's a guy who gets fired, comes back and shoots up his workplace or stabs people. And this happens all over the country all the time. I'm going to show you some pretty staggering statistics here pretty soon. So what are you going to do? You're going to have a plan on how to deal with this, right? We'll talk about that in a minute. Then you got to know your environment. Okay? So what is your cubicle like? What is your office like? What is the workplace like? Do you have bathrooms that have security locking doors? Do you have locking doors that go in and outside? Do you have security guards? Are these security guards armed? These are all questions that you have to think about and have a plan on how to deal with a bad guy that comes in. You should already know all of these things. Who here works at a place where they have security guards? A couple people? Are they armed? No? Okay, do they have special training on how to deal with bad guys? Probably if they're security guards, they have some sort of limited special training. Maybe not. But maybe you're going to know this, right? You're going to maybe do a little bit of research into their company. What kind of security company is this? Are they really good at combating difficult people? What are the escape routes? All of this has to do with having a plan in workplace violence. And workplace violence will turn into possibly active shooters, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. So, good cover. You don't cover, who here knows the difference between cover and concealment? One person? So, basically, cover you can hide behind cover, and that'll stop a bullet from going through it to hurt you. Concealment may be hiding behind a bush, okay? They're not going to see you, but it may not necessarily stop a bullet or a knife or an attack, okay? So you want to do your best to find cover, because cover can hide you and protect you. So you want to know all of these things about your workplace, about your environment. You want to know everything that there is to know before you go to work tomorrow. Or while you're at work tomorrow, draw a little map out on your thing. Having a plan is so important. So, are you going to run away? Are you going to try to hide, or are you going to fight the bad guy? Who thinks we should fight the bad guy first? That should be our first option. Who thinks we should run away? Who thinks that should be our first option? Who thinks we should hide? Okay, this is really, really difficult to answer, all right? So in a perfect world, you're going to follow that order. In a perfect world, you're going to get away. You're going to distance yourself from the bad guy. That's the best scenario. If the bad guy's over there and you hear shooting on the other side of that door, okay, as someone who is not a non-police person, or maybe some of you will do that. I don't know. It depends on you. But most people are going to run away from it, okay? Maybe that door is blocked because the bad guy blocked that door before he did something there. So you might have to hide. Or, as you're getting ready to run away, here's the bad guy in front of you, and you may be confronted by him. So run, hide, or fight, it could be anything. It could be anything. It just depends on the situation. But first and foremost, you want to try to get away from the bad guy. Second, you want to try to hide from the bad guy. And if you have to fight him, then you have to fight him. And hopefully none of you will ever have to fight a bad guy in a workplace violence situation. That would be horrible. So oftentimes, workplace violence leads into, or is already an active shooter. Who here understands or knows what an active shooter is? So some of you didn't raise your hand. I'll try to explain a little bit. An active shooter is a bad guy who's actively killing people or trying to kill people. Okay. Some of the big things that come to mind are like Columbine, and all these mass shootings at different schools, at different workplaces. It's really bad people that want to do really bad things to good people for really, in my opinion, no reason. I'm sure they have reasons in their mind, but I don't understand. So, active shooter situations in our country and everywhere else has really, really risen quite a bit. So do you guys remember the Paris attacks a few months back? Those are active shooters, right? Even though it was a terrorist attack, they're still active shooters. My son-in-law was there at one of the cafes during the shootings. So it's pretty scary. And I've been in law enforcement involved with an active shooter many, many, many years ago. Those are scary situations when there's a bad guy out there who wants to kill people, or multiple bad guys. So, or having a family member on the other side of the world, basically, in this horrible, horrible situation. Active shooters are very, very, very scary situations. They're very, very bad people who want to do a lot of really bad things. So that's why protecting yourselves against these active shooters is so very important. And that's why we're going to get into the topic of firearms. Because how are you going to protect yourself from an active shooter? If you are forced to fight him or face him, you might have to be a firearm. So here's some statistics. So these are FBI statistics between 2000 and 2013. So for the first 7 years, we averaged about 6.4 active shooter incidents in the United States every year. The second 7 years, it bumped up to 16.4. Okay? So active shooter situations are on the rise, and this only goes through 2013. 70% of those incidents occurred in a business or educational environment, okay, workplace or schools. Why do you suppose that is? It's where the most people are. The terrorists out there say the next big terrorist attack in the United States is going to be at middle school. Why middle school? Because there's, I guess that's a rhetorical question, but there's not as many kids in elementary school than there is in middle school. And in high school, they'll fight back, right? So you got a middle school. Most amount of kids, and they want to kill kids because that's the most devastating, and they won't fight back. And it's a horrible, very sad thing to talk about, but it's the truth. It's just the truth. So 60% of the time, the situation ended before the police arrived. And when the police do arrive, it's probably getting pretty close to the end. Our response time in Mountlake Terrace is probably 3 to 4 minutes. If there was an active shooter, it could be up to 3 to 4 minutes would be the maximum. But a lot of these things may end that quick. Most likely, if we had an active shooter situation here, we're going to have a couple 100 cops there within a few minutes, because we got them from county and state and all over the place. So, but 60% of the time, they ended before police arrived.
I work at the high school, Mountlake Terrace, and I got a call that there was a bomb at the school, not too, maybe less than a year ago.
Mhm.
And you guys were there quick. I called 911 and you were there quick.
Yeah, we respond. We take these things very, very seriously,
Yeah.
and we take the protection of our citizens very
We
seriously.
cleared that school out quickly, but we go through training with those kids
Mhm.
to get, where they have to go, what the procedure is.
And I'm sure
We do
you
lockdown, we do soft lockdowns, we do hard lockdowns.
And I'm sure you remember many years ago, we did some pretty significant active shooter training.
In the high
in your
school.
high school.
Yeah.
I was involved with that as well.
So, along that line, I sit here with my sister who has two young boys. Do you physically go to the high schools and teach the staff what they need to do in these situations? Because I think that's, you're sending them to middle school or you're sending them to elementary school and, you see it on television and they didn't know what to do. They just started hiding everybody.
So that's a good conversation to have. A lot of schools have particular policies that they're required to follow when certain situations like this happen. I have personally been to schools to train teachers on what they're supposed to do. However, I have to train to their policies on how they prepare for active shooters. Things are changing quite a bit in the active shooter situation when it comes to schools because they're learning that maybe some of the tactics that police have used in the past don't work. So very, very, very intelligent people are working really hard to come up with policies and procedures to help schools better protect themselves. A lot of it has to do with how the schools are built. My son's going to be going to a school called Caballero Middle School up Lake Stevens. I drove out there the other day, and there's this huge, long road that leads to the school. It's one road that goes back to the school, and there's no other exits. And I think to myself, this is like the perfect school for an attack. So of course I'm planning out, okay, if I'm attacked while I'm here and watching a band concert, here's what I do. But so yes, law enforcement will go out to the schools and help teach. And a lot of schools now still have school resource officers in them. That will work.
And those policies or procedures are set by the school districts themselves,
Yes.
not the state, not
Set by the school
necessarily
district.
with law enforcement.
But what they're trying to do is the school districts are working with law enforcement and working with experts in those fields to try to develop the best plan. So that's always ongoing. Because bad guys are changing their tactics too. So between 2000 and 2013, 486 people were killed during active shooter incidents. That does not include the bad guys. That's just innocent victims. And 557 people were injured. And all but 2 incidents involved a single shooter during those time frames in the United States. So most of them were single shooters. So these are active shooter incidents per year, and you can see how it's on the increase, right? And this is just a little dot map of where they've occurred throughout the country. And you see up in Washington State, there are a few up there. Back in 1999, there was this gentleman who decided to murder his wife and child in Grier. And then he, I don't know if you guys remember
Mail
this.
order, right?
I'm sorry?
Was it the mail
No,
order?
this is a different one.
Oh.
This person then got in the car, wrecked into a car on the freeway, injured them severely, got out, ran into Shoreline, murdered a lady in her yard, broke into a house.
Was over
And you know what was in the
Memorial
house?
Day.
Nothing except for a house full of guns and a couch and a TV and ammunition. That's what was in the house. It was a vacant house. So he sat out there and shot at it. It's over 80 rounds for about 3.5 hours. There's an active shooter, right? Happened here in our area. I know that was 18 years ago, but that happened here, and I mean, it started in Briar. He's a person actively trying to kill people.
And
So-
it just happened to be on Memorial Day weekend, and we were leaving to go to the ocean, and you couldn't go down the freeway.
It was, a little side note, it was my very first day in a police car by myself on patrol.
I'm going home.
It was that morning. And my boss, I got on the radio and I said, I hear there's a situation over in Shoreline. Can I go out and help? And he goes, no, I want you to stay in the city. I failed because I had to go help catch this bad guy. So, it's a whole other story. Also, not to define.
How was the desk duty?
But no, yeah, that happened here. So, active shooters, run, hide, or fight us. This is all basically the same thing when you're in your workplace. Okay? It's basically the same rules apply. Have a plan, know your environment, know what to do. Your first goal is going to try to get the heck out of there. You want to leave, you want to get out of there. If you can't get out of there, you want to hide. If you're trying to hide and the bad guy approaches you and you don't have a choice, you might have to fight him, right? Who here feels comfortable that they can take on any bad guy in any situation? Okay? I don't. But what I am very impressed with you guys is that you're here now to try to do anything you can to help you, to increase your odds of winning. Because winning is important. What is it that said that? Charlie Sheen? Winning.
No, there's a win for it.
So it's so very, very, very important that you have a plan, have a good mindset, and you think about winning all of the time. You always want to think in your mind how you're going to win a fight. You never think about what happens if I get shot and I'm on the ground and I'm bleeding and my left hand doesn't work. No. I'm going to be going after this bad guy in my little training plan that I have in my head, and he's going to shoot at me. I don't know if I'm going to get hit or not, but I'm going to get him. That's my plan. My plan is to win, always.
All right, I'll just expand on that, and I'll ask you again, who here thinks they can take on any bad guy? Life or death situation, you or him or her. Who's going to win? Yeah, everybody. I want everybody should raise their hand. Right? What's your alternative? No, each one of you are going to go kick that guy's bottom. You're going to fight. You're going to kick. You're going to scratch. You're going to tear his eyes out. You're going to do whatever it takes to survive. No more of this submitting to this individual. If you're backed into a corner, you tried everything else. No, you take the fight to him. There's no quit. He's going to realize that he messed with the wrong individual. All right? Because what's your alternative? Your family going to your funeral? No, that's not acceptable. So I'll ask you again, who here is going to win that fight? Yeah. I see it in you. I have the tiger right there.
Okay, so I'm gonna move this away from active shooters a little bit. I'm gonna get moving along a little bit because I get rambling along, and I could talk about some of these topics, and eventually it's gonna be 10, 11, 12 o'clock tonight. And you guys are gonna want to go home. So we're gonna talk about confronting bad guys. You've already made your plan that if you have to confront the bad guy, you're going to win. But let's talk about this. Should I fight these bad guys or should I just let them go? Well, if the bad guy's coming in to steal your stuff, it sucks. I work hard for my stuff. I don't want them to take it, but it's better than hurting myself. It's better than letting them hurt my family, right? The bad guy says, give me all your money. Here you go. Take it. I wished I didn't have to, but so that's my opinion. It also depends on whether you have skills to fight them or not, whether you're capable of doing it. Are you a young person who has no skills whatsoever, or are you an elderly person who used to have skills and maybe not so much anymore? You have bad knees. I mean, it could be anything. You've got to know yourselves on what you can do. What's worth more, family or property? That's an easy question to answer, right? It also depends on their actions. Are these people freaking out on you, or are they all high on meth? Everyone knows what a methed out guy looks like, right? He looks like a crazy person, and they act like a crazy person. So, are they attacking you or your family? I can tell you one thing, if someone's attacking my family, it's not going to go well for him. It's really not. So, and have you made the shoot decision? This is where we're going to get into a pretty interesting conversation. So, we're going to get into the whole, so first of all, who's here more interested about the gun stuff and personal defense stuff? Who's in here? Okay, so I feel bad, I'm sorry I talked about personal awareness for the first hour and a half. But for the people who are interested in the personal awareness stuff, it's really, really good information and it's really, really important. But now that you are made aware of what can happen and what the bad guys are doing, their actions, now you got to figure out how to protect yourself. And it might have to do with guns. So let's talk about the shoot decision a little bit. Everyone here should sit down when they have some time to contemplate by themselves and make this very, very important decision. If a bad guy came after me and he was trying to kill me, kill my family, or gravely disable me, or I felt like my life was threatened or my family's life was threatened, could you make the decision to pull the trigger on a gun and take another person's life? Okay? That's the ultimate hard decision to decide to make. And there is no wrong answer to that. So some of us may say, I've made that decision. I've made that decision. I'm in law enforcement. Of course I've made that decision. If someone, but personally, even if I wasn't a cop, if someone was attacking my son or my daughter or my grandkids, I would have no problem doing everything in my power legally to protect them. So that's a decision that I've made. And that's a decision that each one of you need to make before you make a decision to buy a gun. Now, you may buy a gun for target shooting or for hunting or whatever it might be, but when it comes for personal protection, this is very, very important, serious stuff. This isn't I'm going to go buy a gun for personal protection, and it's going to be really cool, because it's going to go bang, I can say I got a .357 Magnum, or I got a shotgun, but I'm going to keep, I got kids in the house, so I'm going to put the ammunition over here, I'm going to put the gun over here, and then lock the magazines in the safe. Is that gun for personal protection? No, because you're not going to be able to use it for personal protection because it's all in pieces everywhere. So making this decision on buying a gun is not a light decision. It's something that you should just make it quickly. So I'm not going to ask you guys what your decision is, but what I am going to do is move forward as though that you've made a decision that you could take a human life if you want to. Okay? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Now, when I talk about shooting somebody, and I'm gonna get a little bit graphic. I'm not too graphic. I'm not going to talk any gory details, but I'm going to talk about shooting somebody, and that's pretty major, right? My goal. Okay, so here's a question for you that you can answer. What is your goal? If a bad guy has a gun, and he comes walking in here, and I see him, and he's getting ready to hurt one of you or hurt me, what's my goal? Is my goal to shoot him and kill him? Who says yes?
Yes.
Okay. Who says my goal is for him to stop shooting at me? Okay. So my goal is to stop the bad guy from doing whatever bad thing it is that he's about to do. That's it. I never ever want to have to take a human life. That would be devastating. You think, well, you're a cop and that's what you're going to have to do and you're getting in shootouts all the time and blah, blah, blah. No, I don't want to have to do that. That would be horrible. That would be a horrible thing. I'm prepared to do it. I'll do it as part of my job. I'll do it to protect the community. I'll do it to protect my family. But I don't want to. So my goal is to stop the bad guy from doing whatever bad thing is that he's about ready to do. So if a bad guy has a gun in his hand, what's the best way to stop him? Shoot the gun out of his hand? Who says yes? I had a class once where, this was quite some time ago, it was similar to this, it was a firearm safety class, where I took one of those little guns with the little suction cups that shoot out, and I threw balloons up in the air, and I said, shoot the balloon. And no one could hit the balloon. And then the balloon's like this far away, but this balloon's moving around, no one can hit the balloon. It's the same thing if a guy has a gun in his hand. The best way to stop a bad guy is to shoot him in the biggest area that you can hit him. You want to shoot him to stop him from doing whatever bad thing it is that he's doing. And if he gets injured, which he will if he's shot, that's really unfortunate for him. But you and your family are safe, right?
Not necessarily. Depends on how big the bullet is.
We're going to talk about the caliber debate here pretty soon. I have a whole Got a whole box of bullets here, we'll get into a little bit. But you take a bullet like this,
That's gonna hurt.
right? That's a big bullet. Or you take a bullet like this little guy here. Okay? It's still gonna hurt. Which one's gonna be more devastating? We're gonna talk about that, okay? You guys probably think I am a little bit of a gun guy. I have lots of guns, and I'm a firearms instructor and all that. You might be surprised at what I think about calibers, 45 versus 9mm and all that stuff. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit. So we want to shoot to stop the bad guy, okay? That's our main goal. So talk a little bit about whether it's legal to shoot someone, okay? And if it is legal to shoot someone, it's ethical to shoot someone. Is it the right thing to do? So oftentimes I get asked many various types of questions in these trainings. And here's what I'm going to say before any of you even ask me these questions. So when you're home alone, you're lying in bed, your thoughts are to yourself, okay? You know the kind of person that you want to be. You know the bad decisions that you've made, and you know the good decisions that you've made. And you know it more than anyone. You don't have to talk with it about it. It's all right here. You're all to yourself. What kind of person do you want to be? Okay? If you're the type of person who's made some bad decisions and you don't like that, change. Just change. And be the type of person who's going to make the right decision. So you talk about, well, I'm going to shoot someone in the front yard and drag him into my house to make it look like he was in here to make it look legal. I've had questions like that a lot in these types of classes. If it's the right thing to do, you'll know it. You'll know that it's the right thing to do. If your life is in danger, or your family's life is in danger, and you have to use lethal force to stop somebody, then it's okay. It's okay, and you're going to be okay. If some guy breaks into your house, flashes a gun at you, and you pull your gun out and you say, you better stop right now, and he drops your gun and starts running out, or drops his gun and starts running away, he's still in your house. Right? A bad guy saying he's going to kill you, and he had a gun, but he's running out the front door. Can you shoot him? No. Legally. Let's think about this. Legally, a bad guy's in the house, he was armed with a weapon.
Legally,
Could you say, you shoot him and he drops to the ground inside your house, can you tell the cops, I was afraid for my life?
You shot him in the back.
You know what?
He broke into your house, though.
If once you've made the decision to shoot, I'm not going to get into this. Bad guy comes up, you've made the decision to shoot, he does this, you may not be able to stop your finger from pulling the trigger as fast as he's turning around. So it's possible you could hit someone in the back and have it be justified. That is a possibility, okay? But what I'm saying is, legally, you might be able to tell the cops, look, bad guy, gun, I was afraid, I shot him. Is it really the right thing to do? Maybe not. Depends on the situation. If he's running away and afraid, these are decisions that I can't tell you what's right. Depends on the situation at the time. But you have to think about what's legal, and you have to think about what the right thing to do is.
How do you know what's legal?
You're reading the packet.
Oh.
And I'm going to teach you a little bit too. And we're going to talk about a little bit of it right here.
So what happens if you don't see a gun, but he makes a quick move in a pocket?
So here's what I'm going to say about that. If you honestly, truly believe that your life is in danger, or your family's life is in danger, based on his actions and what a reasonable person would think, you may have to take lethal force. Okay? You'll have to justify it. You have to justify it for law enforcement. People get shot without guns all the time. People get shot when they have BB guns. People get shot when they have a knife or any other kind of tool. But if you honestly truly feel that your life is in danger, what if the guy's 5 feet tall and he has no gun and he's walking at you saying, I'm gonna effing kill you, excuse my almost bad language. I'm gonna kill you, and he's in your house and you got a gun and he's stomping after you, he says, I'm gonna kill you. Can you shoot him?
Right.
I mean, this is a horribly bad guy saying he's going to kill you. He looks like he's going to kill you. He's coming after you. He's in your house. Probably be okay. Probably be okay. I will never sit here and say, that's justified, that's not justified. I mean, it really depends on the situations. So, what about in your front yard? What if you got a bad guy on your property in your front yard and your life is in danger because of him? That's your property, okay? Depends on his actions. If he's coming after you, if he has weaponry, if he does something to make you feel like your life is in danger, then yes, it's legal. We talked about it in the home. What about out in public? What about at McDonald's? Okay.
There was just the incident down south with the guy in the 7-Eleven.
Let's talk about that. Guy goes into 7-Eleven with an axe, was that right, or a hatchet?
Yeah.
Right? And some guy going to work happens to be carrying a sidearm, and this hatchet-wielding person is going after either the clerk or himself, and he used lethal force. Is that justified?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What if I'm off duty, or it's one of you guys who's carrying a gun, and hatchet guy is going after an innocent person, and you're not involved at all?
Still
Can you
shoot it.
shoot hatchet guy?
Yep,
Kind of your responsibility.
third party.
So she said something interesting. It's kind of your responsibility to take care of it. That's difficult. I would feel that way because I have some special training. But some people may not feel that way. And it's hard because some people just won't, maybe they haven't made the shoot decision. Maybe their responsibility is to call 911, which is okay, So shooting in public, obviously you can protect your family from criminal activity. What about protecting, before we get to property, let's talk about your dog. Where as a dog?
Just asking.
Okay? What if a bad guy walks up, aims a gun at your dog, and is about to shoot it? Can you shoot the bad guy?
Yep.
Who says yes? I'm putting you on the spot. Who says no? 50-50. In Washington State, they consider an animal a piece of property. Okay? You cannot use lethal force to protect your property. That's pretty sad, right?
I'll show you like my jail.
So if you have a bad guy who's not threatening you, he's not threatening you, but he's breaking the fence down, he's smashing the windows, he shot your dog. Well, let's say you hit your dog and you kill that. If he's got a gun, then that changes things a little bit. But let's say he's not threatening you, but he's breaking all of your property. You just walk away and you call 911. And the whole animal thing, people hate it, but
But it's also assessing the threat. Because in Spokane not too long ago, a few blocks from where I live, a couple drunk guys went to the wrong house. And they ended up getting shot. I don't know that they were making threats, but they scared the homeowner enough, and the homeowner felt that the only thing they could do was shoot. So it's assessing the appropriate threat.
assessing the appropriate threat and have a plan before. Have a plan. What am I going to do if a bad guy comes into my house without a gun? What am I going to do if he comes into my house with a gun? If a bad guy comes into my house, there's a problem, right? Why is he in there? Where's my kid? Now, I'm not going to talk about setting up your house and shooting angles and all that, but in my house, I know where my kid sleeps. I know where me and my wife are. I know exit plans. I know that if I'm in my bedroom and I see a bad guy in my doorway, I'm safe to shoot this way because there's no neighbor. Think about all those things. Think about all those things. So, you've used lethal force. Now what are you going to do? Bad guy comes into the house. He falls to the ground. What are you going to do? I didn't actually write that. I'm going to call 911 right away.
After you throw up, then you call the police.
Call 911. Throw up first.
I said, after you throw up, then you call the police.
That can happen. We're going to talk about your body and stress. Okay? This is going to sound silly, but oftentimes when people get into shootings, they soil themselves. It's back to life. One of my dear friend's sons fought in many wars over in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he used to tell me anytime he had a chance to go to the bathroom, he would. Number one or number two, because he's about to get into a firefight, and if he doesn't alleviate himself, he'll do it during the gun battle. And you know what? None of his friends ever make fun of him because it's going to happen to them too. So just what happens to your body is stress. Oftentimes that'll happen. That'll happen. So should you provide, okay, so you're going to call 911. You're going to tell them, bad guy was in my house, I had to use lethal force. I'm the homeowner. I am wearing green pants and a black shirt. So you want the officers to know who you are. I'm in my nightgown. I'm in my pajamas. I'm sitting here. Bad guy is wearing this. You want the officers who are arriving to know who you are. Oftentimes the dispatcher will tell you, if it's safe to do so, place your gun down and get away from the bad guy. Because the bad guy still may be moving, who knows. So, or take your gun away from the bad guy and then set it down. So should you move the bad guy?
No.
Probably not. Let him sit there. Should you provide first aid? Did we talk about that yet?
No.
That's appropriate.
That's a great answer. So if bad guy breaks into your house and you shoot him, he falls to the ground, you move the gun away from him, and this guy is sitting there and he's bleeding to death. And you know now you're not in any danger, provide first aid for the guy.
Then you can sue him.
Well, that's a decision you guys need to make. I don't want people to die. I really don't. I'm going to provide first aid for them if it's safe for me to do so. If it's safe for me to do so. Sir.
My guess is that if you call 911, you said you shot the guy. My guess is that the dispatcher will be on the ball and will start asking you questions and will guide you. And you won't have to think of whether or not to provide first aid. They'll guide you there and help you make a decision yourself.
Exactly. And you know what? If you don't know first aid, or if you're still afraid that this guy could attack you, you have to go down there and provide first aid. But is it the right thing to do? It really depends on the situation. Depends on the situation. You know, who knows what's going on with this guy? He's a bad guy, maybe he's high on drugs. You just don't know. You don't know what's going on in his life. Does he deserve to die that day? Maybe. Maybe not. So, sir.
I think one thing you have to keep in mind is you have a crime scene that if you start moving evidence or touching anything like that, you're tampering with evidence. You have to remember it's a crime scene.
So he talked about this being a crime scene. That's very, very true. First and foremost, though, stop the bad guy from doing the bad thing that he was about ready to do. And if you have to provide a little bit of first aid to save his life, that's a little bit more important than preserving evidence, in my opinion. Life over property. So that's my opinion. Other opinions may differ.
So he said something that if you give them first aid and save their life, then they come back and sue you.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
I suppose. Anyone
It happens all the
It's
time.
America.
Yeah. You know, aren't you required now to ask people to provide first aid if they're conscious and they say no? And,
Protected by the Good Samaritan.
yeah. I mean, honestly, truly, if you're trying to do the right thing, you generally are going to be okay. If you really just want to do the right thing, you're probably going to be okay.
Sir, can you just
There's
sign
the-
this really quick?
Assuming that you feel safe enough applying first aid, you could actually turn that person's life around.
You might. You might. So I'm gonna move this along a little bit because we could talk about this quite a bit, and there's other topics that even can get more lengthy. If you have kids in the house, have a plan for your kids, right? If you have other people in the house, give everyone something to do. Keep them busy. I need you to go call 911. I need you to go over to the neighbor's house. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Keep people busy. Keep small children away from the bad guy who's lying on the ground. Just so they don't have to see that. So your body is going to go through all kinds of things if you have to get into a shooting situation. Tunnel vision, which means everything is going to start narrowing down on you. Okay? All your senses are going to be focused, highly focused on whatever situation is happening. And you may be, something may be happening over here. You'll have no clue what's happening because you're so hyper-focused on what's happening right in front of you. I call that tunnel vision. Auditory exclusion makes your hearing also, it's like tunnel vision for your hearing. Your hearing will focus directly on whatever's happening. So someone could be screaming at you from over here, but you don't hear it because you're so focused on what this guy is saying. You ever hear police officers yell when they're right next to someone? Show me your hands! Show me your hands, right? They're yelling because they think that this guy needs to hear what's going on, and they kind of have everything blocked out. That's an officer who maybe is a little bit newer, who doesn't have a lot of experience with these kinds of things. He's got a little bit of tunnel vision and outdoor exclusion going on. The best way that you can do to prevent these things from happening is know your body, know how your body reacts to stress, and then once you know it, you can work on fighting against it. So combat breathing is something you could do. Combat breathing is basically a very quick version of meditation. What I do when I want to combat stress is imagine some blue smoke, breathe in, blue smoke goes through your nose, into your stomach, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, comes out, wait 4 seconds, breathe in for 4 seconds. Do that a couple times. And you can do that when you're driving, you can do that when you're stressed out, and it relaxes the body, opens up your vision, helps your hearing. So it's a small, little, quick form of meditation. And they are now teaching that to police officers, not only in combat situations, but in something called Blue Courage training that we go to, where you're in stressful situations, whether it's an office environment, whether it's a stressful call, a shooting, whatever you're in, do this quick little technique and it'll help you. It'll help your stress. So, a few rules you have to follow when you're in a gunfight. What's rule number 1? We talked about that before, right? Rule number 2 is have a backup plan, because rule number 1 is going to fail. Right? It's going to fail. Be direct and professional, but have a plan to shoot any bad guy that intends to do harm to your family. Don't worry about being rude to somebody. Stop right there. If you move one more step forward, I am going to shoot you. Okay? That's direct and professional. I see the gun in your waistband. If you go for that gun, I will shoot you. Don't say kill, say shoot. Because your plan is to stop him, not to kill him. Be direct and professional. Anything we're shooting once, anything we're shooting is worth shooting twice. Ammo is cheap, life is expensive. Let me explain that a little bit. If you are justified to shoot a bad guy, okay, are you going to shoot him just one time? You're going to shoot the bad guy until he stops doing the bad thing. So it's okay if you have made that decision to shoot. You're justified to shoot. You're going to continue doing so until the bad guy stops. Okay? And you continue doing so until the bad guy stops. Distance is your friend. We talked about this. Cover and concealment. We talked about that. Always cheat, always win. The only unfair fight is the one you lose. Is it cheating to kick someone in the private area before you shoot them? Is it cheating to?
Great idea.
What's that?
It's a great idea.
Is it cheating to if you let's say it's not a shooting situation, but you got some guy who's about ready to attack you? Is it cheating to get the jump on him and step on his foot really quick and then slap him in the face? No, it's, you got to win. You got to do whatever you got to do. So, man, you know, this happens to me every time. This next topic takes like 4 hours, and we have 40 minutes.
Can I ask you a question before you go into this lengthy topic that
Sure.
we might have to have a session 2 for?
Does anyone need if you need a potty break or whatever, feel free to go, but I want to kind of keep moving along. There's plenty of trees for you to go, and hopefully that's okay. Hopefully you guys don't mind.
So I have a license to carry concealed. And do you need, if you have a gun in your home, do you need to have a license to carry concealed to have a gun in your home, or
No.
you just need it to carry it out in public?
Okay, so there are exceptions to the concealed carry law, and I can talk about this now. We're going to get into it a little bit later, but some of the exceptions are in your home, in your place of work, as long as your work policies provide for that, to and from your home and place of work, to and from a camping, hunting, or fishing trip, while you're on a camping, hunting, or fishing trip, to and from the range, and while you're at the range. Those are exceptions to the concealed carry law, and those are all in the pamphlet that I gave you guys. So having a concealed weapons permit allows you to carry a concealed handgun on you while you're in your vehicle. If you don't have a concealed weapons permit, then you can't have a loaded gun in your car to transport it. You can never have a loaded rifle, even with the concealed weapons permit in your car. So I'm going to go through this quick. This is a little bit of, I don't know. Should I go through this? Anyone heard of the OODA loop? Okay. So So when you're getting ready to get into a shooting situation, there's this old World War II combat pilot that developed this situation called OODA. Okay? Observe, orient, decide, and act. And we use this in gunfights now. Okay? So you got a bad guy. I've been using you as my bad guy. I hope maybe I should use you as my bad guy today. So you got a bad guy, a bad woman that you're observing getting ready to do a bad thing. So that's the first O. Okay? I'm going to orient myself to her. That's the second O. Then I'm going to make a decision. Okay, she's a bad guy. I've observed her. I've got myself lined up. I'm going to make a decision to shoot, and then I'm going to act, and I'm going to shoot. Okay? That's what happens in a combat situation. It's a circle. Observe, orient, decide, act. What you want to do is, every person does this. Bad guys, good guys, they all do it. If you can disrupt the bad guy's OODA loop, it throws him off. So you want to get in his OODA loop and make a change before he gets to the act. Okay, so it's going to look like this. So you observe, you orient yourself to him, you make a decision. That line right there, right before he acts, you're going to do something. Yell at him, step on his foot, call him a bad name, do something to throw off his circle, his OODA, and then he has to start that all over again. Then he's going to decide, or observe, orient, decide, before he can act, get into his OODA loop again. Action is always faster than reaction. So if you have to make a decision to fight a bad guy, fight first, is what I'm saying. Fight first. That's very, very important. Finally, we're going to talk about guns. I can talk about guns all night. This is a gun that I built for the zombie apocalypse.
It's like a chainsaw.
What's that?
It looks like a chainsaw.
Oh, it's got that on there too.
Michael owns one of those, doesn't he?
Who?
Michael, you know the guy with the hockey mask?
Yeah. You all believe in the zombie apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't, then isn't China going to do an EMP over us? So all of our electronics go down. This is gas powered, so we'll be okay. So I'm going to go over any questions on, first of all, the last, any questions at this point? So I'm going to talk about guns. I'm going to talk about calibers. A lot of people say 12-gauge shotgun is the best possible home defense gun. So this is a 12-gauge shotgun, and this shotgun is set up for home defense. It's got a special little stock on it that I can move.
Unloaded, right?
All these guns are unloaded. I promise you.
Treat every gun like it's loaded.
So, 12-gauge shotgun. Who here thinks this is a good home defense gun? A lot of people. Thinks this is a little much to handle. Okay? It is a little much to handle for a lot of people. Is this the gun? Do you think well, you don't know me, but I think this is a great round for home defense, but I don't use it for home defense because where am I going to put it? I have a 13-year-old boy in the house who I trust very, very much. I feel very confident that if I left a gun out that he would be very good about not touching it. But kids are kids, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm not going to use this. But a lot of people could use this 12-gauge shotgun. Now, people say, all I have to do is make that sound and they all run away. Well, that sound is a very distinct sound, and it might make people afraid, but your actions are more important than just the sound. Okay. This round is very versatile. You can shoot slugs out of it, which is a solid piece of lead, or you can shoot birdshot out of it, which is a whole bunch of small little pellets, which I'm going to show you here in just a minute. Actually, I might. So here, that's a slug. That doesn't show up very well here, does it?
That's all right.
This is a slug. That's going to be devastating. That's going to go through a lot of walls, a lot of people. That's going to do a lot of damage, about that big around. This is birdshot. Okay? This probably might go through some plasterboard, maybe not. It might drop a person, maybe not. It might hurt them real bad. So it's very versatile. Most police officers use double-aught buck, which is this, or they'll use slugs in their shotguns. That would be pretty devastating, but that's going to go through a lot of walls. So if you live in a home where there's a lot of walls, it's going to go through a lot. So that's why the shotgun may or may not be a great home defense gun. So before I even go any further into home defense guns, I'm going to talk a little bit more about calibers. So, and this is a debate that's been going on for many, many years. What's the best caliber? When I first got into law enforcement, I started with a 9mm. Then they said 40 caliber is better, it's the best thing ever, so let's switch to 40 caliber. Okay, so we switched to 40. Then they said 45 caliber is the big bullet. That's going to put big holes in people, and that's going to be great. So we all switched to 45 caliber. Then Chief Wilson came along, and he says, you know what? You guys should have options. You guys should be able to choose what caliber you want to use and do the research on your own. So he gave us some options. So I started doing some research, and I learned that the 9mm caliber really is a pretty good caliber. It's much smaller, but I like it a lot. And that's what I started carrying. The reason that I'm going to recommend, I'm not going to recommend any calibers, is because it's different for every person. The best home defense gun is the one that you will practice with, train with. Okay? If you take out a big old 45, or if you take out a shotgun and it hurts when you shoot it, you're probably not going to want to shoot it. You're going to keep it for home defense, and you'll be a little bit scared of it, right? Then you're not going to train with it. Then it's a bad home defense gun. If all you feel comfortable shooting is a 22 caliber, and that's that little teeny bullet I showed you earlier, and that's all you feel comfortable shooting, probably not the best ballistics. But if you train with that gun, and you know that gun very well, and that's what you decide you want to use for home defense, that's a decision you guys can make. It's something. It's something. So I'm not going to sit here and say 12 gauge is, you got to get one, or you got to get a 45 caliber, or a 357 Magnum, or a Colt Python. It's whatever you guys feel comfortable with. It's all about comfort level. So that's what it looks like inside of these shotguns. The white box screen there on the right is a slug. In the middle you got the buckshot, and then you got birdshot on the left. And I already showed you that. So then these are just some handguns, 9mm handgun. Let's see if I can show you some. So these two are compact. This is a Glock. This is a Smith & Wesson Shield. Okay, they're both 9mm. They're really good concealed carry guns. Very durable, very popular. $500 to $400 right there. So they're not super cheap. Great concealed carry gun. Great home defense gun. Depends on if you're comfortable carrying these or not.
What's the accuracy range?
Depends on the shooter. I could probably shoot this gun out to 25 yards, get a target about that big, maybe. They're not super accurate. They're not bad.
The shorter the barrel, the less stability you have. So.
Shorter the barrel, the less accurate they'll be. More stability though. I mean, these little guns, you can hold them in your hand pretty well. A little bit bigger of a 9mm. This is what I carry every day. It's a Glock Model 19 9mm. It's a little bit bigger. It's still a compact. Fits really well in your hand. Doesn't kick very much. If I was going to recommend one gun for a new shooter, it probably would be this gun. Probably be this gun. Only because the 9mm is easy to control. The ballistics on it now are very good because of the technology when they come into making bullets now is very good. Easy to handle, not super expensive, very durable, very well known. Everyone's probably heard of Glock handguns. Revolvers, I'm not really following my plan. Revolvers are very good home defense guns because they're super easy. You put the bullets in there, and then you pull the trigger and it goes bang, right? This particular revolver is a little bit hard to shoot because it's very lightweight. It's made out of titanium, and It has a 38 caliber bullet in it, and it hurts your hand a little bit after you shoot it for a box or so of ammo. So this is one that is good, but it could be a little punishing to shoot. This particular one has these little holes on the barrel because it is kicked quite hard. They put these little holes in the barrel to try to make it so it doesn't kick as hard. Problem is if you shoot that at nighttime, it's going to blind you because the big flame's going to come out of it. So these are some of the stuff that you want to consider. What's that?
She shuts her eyes before she shoots.
So this here was what a 9mm looks like. This is what happens to a hollow point bullet after it gets shot. Okay? So when you shoot a person with one of these guns, it's not the impact or the energy that will kill the person with a handgun. It's them bleeding to death. Okay? That's just basically what it is. So people say 45 has good knockdown power. 45 does have more foot-pounds of energy, and it might knock you down further. But still, it's just the blood is leaving your body is what is going to cause you to die with a handgun. With a rifle, that's different. But with a handgun, it's just the blood that leaves your body that's going to cause death.
If somebody's shooting at you and you shoot them and they're going to bleed to death, that's not going to stop them from shooting at you.
Well, that's a good point. That's why you need to keep shooting until he stops doing whatever it is he was doing. And hopefully, he'll stop. So, but there's studies, and I could get into the ballistics and talk about that all night long. But there's studies that talk about the difference between the 9mm and the 45 caliber. 5-10 years ago, 45 caliber was the way to go because the ballistics were so much better. Nowadays, with the technology and the way they're making bullets and the way bullets expand, the 9mm is really, really caught up. Much cheaper ammunition, easier to shoot. You can have more bullets in your gun, and there's just way more benefits to it. Especially for a somewhat new or novice shooter, it's much easier to handle than a 45. 45 is a pretty big gun. I mean, you can get small 45s, but generally a Glock Model 21 45 caliber is what I carried before this one. It's a big gun. I got pretty big hands. They shoot nice, and the ballistics on it are great, but it's all about what you guys feel comfortable with. It's all about what you guys feel comfortable with. What about that?
That's a nice working.
So this is a Colt M16, or M4 actually. This particular one is fully automatic. Actually, nope, I grabbed one that's not.
Oh, it's illegal.
Not for the law enforcement.
Oh.
We did some pretty cool stuff. I didn't bring my work gun here, but that one's fully automatic. It's fun. However, I would never use it on fully automatic because that's silly. You're not going to be very accurate. There's really no reason for it. It's fun. Even the military has gotten away from that. They go to 3-round burst. You pull the trigger and it'll shoot 3 rounds and then pull the trigger again. It's just wasteful. But what about a gun like this for home defense? Who says no? Who says yes? A couple people. What do you think it depends on?
I'm used to it.
Depends on you, right? I was in the military. I've been in law enforcement for a long time. This is comfortable for me. I know this gun. I can take this gun apart in the dark in 10 seconds with my eyes closed. Maybe. Okay, maybe a couple minutes. I went to school on this gun. I learned how to take it apart. I learned how to build them. So for me, this particular gun would be a fine home defense gun. There are some major drawbacks. These bullets could go through walls. You can buy special ammunition called frangible ammunition. It'll break apart when it hits plaster, which is good. So when it hits a person, it'll do some horrible damage. The trauma that this does to a person's body is what incapacitates them rather than the loss of blood. Because when this goes into a body, it's going to put that much trauma inside because of how fast this bullet is moving. But for a home defense gun, this is very small, right? These hardly kick at all. They're like a 22 caliber pistol, right? Or a rifle. So they don't really kick very much at all. So I feel really comfortable walking with this. But what I don't like about it is penetration. I don't like how it penetrates walls and stuff like that. So this is fine. This is a fine home defense weapon for people who have a lot of experience with this. basically, I don't know, this gun probably is in more homes than any other gun in as far as rifles go in the country. It's a Ruger 1022. Okay, just a 22 caliber rifle. It's very dependable. You can buy these big, huge magazines that go in there that hold 50 rounds. And you know, maybe the ballistics on it aren't the best, but if I shot 50 22 caliber rounds into a person, there's a good chance he's going to stop, right? Once again, the problem is this bullet's probably going to go a long way. Probably going to go through walls. If you shoot it outside, it might go a mile. Okay, so that part is pretty scary. The ammunition is what would prevent that from happening. You can buy, I mean, I could go on and on about ammunition. You can buy subsonic rounds, you could buy frangible ammunition, but it's all complicated and hard to figure out, right? You want to buy a gun, if you're going to purchase a gun, you want to buy one that you're going to use, that you can take to the range, you can take out to the woods, that you can practice, that you enjoy, and once you shoot a few thousand rounds out of it, and once you draw it in and out of your holster 300 to 500 times, once you take the gun apart and clean it and put it back together 30 times, then you might be ready to use it for a home defense gun. Yeah? Does that seem like a lot of training to go through? We'll talk about that in just a second. This is one of my favorite. This is my wife's school gun. It's a 22 caliber pistol, and it's a Ruger SR22. And this particular one holds 10 rounds in it. And what I did was, I bought her this gun to practice, because when we met, she had never shot a gun. So she goes out, shoots this gun. And then this gun, after she shoots several hundred rounds out of it, is very, very, very similar to a little bit larger version that she was able to move into a 9mm and worked out really well for her. And she loves shooting a 9mm. So this is kind of a good training gun. Like a couple $300 for this. I know that's kind of a lot of money, but it's fun. And then after you don't use it for home defense, if you don't use it for home defense, it's fun to take out in the woods and shoot cans with it. So not too terribly expensive. This particular one has rubber grips. It's easy to grip onto, and you can interchange them to make them bigger or smaller. So that's kind of nice.
What was that one again?
A Ruger SR22. Here's an AK-47. Good home defense gun. Has anyone seen these before? So they're like the Russian guns.
You're the universal.
I own an AK. I'm a little weird gun guy, I guess, but I have one of these, and it's like the best, most fun thing ever to shoot. It's just fun. It's fun to go out and shoot cans with it, but I probably wouldn't use that one for home defense. That's what rifle ammunition looks like. There's the Ruger 1022. There's the revolver I just showed you. Then you get guns like the Colt Python 357 Magnum, right? 357 Magnum round has 97% stopping power. It's the best stopping powered round of any handgun made in America. These statistics might be a little, maybe they have better stuff now. That gun there, one shot, the guy's probably going to go down in one shot.
But how much does that gun weigh?
That gun weighs a lot.
Right.
And it's miserable to shoot. And well, for some people might think it's fun to shoot, but you know, it's like this big. And it's a brute. So even though the ballistics on that gun is amazing, stopping power is great, and it sounds really cool to say I got a Colt Python 357, and it's chrome plated, and it's shiny, and it's got a comfortable grip, and you can get a holster on it that goes like this. I don't even own one. I probably wouldn't use that. This one's called the Judge. And this is a shotgun. Well, it's a pistol that shoots 410 shotgun rounds. Okay? They made this to be a home defense gun because it shoots like birdshot. But I shot one of these and I didn't enjoy it at all. And that's similar to the 357 Colt Python or the 44 Magnum. That's kind of an idea. Far right is a 22 caliber, far left is a shotgun, and then a bunch of different calibers in the middle. There's a battery that kind of gives you the idea on size. So let's talk more a little bit about guns before we talk about training. Anyone disagree? And please, if you disagree with me, speak up. And if you don't want to speak up in public, come see me afterwards. But does anyone disagree with how I feel about calibers? Some calibers are better than others. There's proven to be that way, right? There's no doubt about it. But the best home defense gun is the one you're going to use. The best one is the one you're going to use. The best home defense gun or the best personal defense gun is going to be the one you're going to carry. Okay? So I got two separate gun situations going on when I'm working at home. Now this one that I carry at work, first of all, because policy says that I'm not allowed to carry the cooler when I work. And secondly, it's because if I'm at work, there's a good chance I may need a gun with bigger bullets and so on and so forth. So when I get to work, I put this on. But I wouldn't carry this at home because it's too big. It's too easy to see, and I can't conceal it. So I have the same exact gun, but just a little baby version of it. So this is a Glock 19. This is a Glock 43. This is brand new, single stack 9mm handgun. You can get for about $400. And I know that's a lot of money. You can buy cheaper guns. You get what you pay for a little bit when it comes to guns. You don't have to go out and spend $900 on a super fancy gun. You can get a really, really good gun for home protection for $300 to $500. Or you can maybe try to find a used gun. So the best home defense gun or the best personal defense gun is the one that you're going to carry comfortably. That's the tricky part. Carry comfortably. A lot of people will carry inside the pant holsters. I personally don't like those. So I got a couple different things here. A friend of mine named J.J. Abalafia builds holsters. He made this holster for me. He made this holster for me. And these are called speed clips. So this little guy fits this gun very easily. Snaps right into place. That's not going anywhere. Right? When I want to pull it out, it comes out pretty easy. When I put these guns with the speed clips on, I can take these on and off very quickly. See how quickly that came off? It's the same kind of holster. So when I'm at work, I do that. And then when I come home, or when I go home, and I want to use it off duty, I just pop it right on there. Speed clips. So this is so much easier to conceal. So the best gun is one that you're going to use and carry. Right? That makes sense? This particular one doesn't have any bullets in it right
Women
now.
don't wear belts every day.
Okay, good point. So, this is going to sound silly, but they have something called thunderwear. Okay? That it's a special undergarments you can wear that have ways to carry guns. Megan here just purchased something. Can you explain to them what you bought?
Yeah, so at a gun shop, there was a lady who was my size, and what she did and what I ended up getting is like a belly band. So it's a belly belt, and so you strap it around like a huge piece of Velcro, and it's got like a holster in there. You can just stick the gun in. And so for me, I don't hardly ever wear a belt, except for work. So then that goes underneath, my coats, sweatshirt, anything like that. T-shirt is a little bit still, you can see it, but a sweatshirt, and you just can't even tell the difference at all. You can just move it around, wear it on your waist, so it can be under your pants as well, or even just up on your belly, something like that. So that works for me, and I don't wear a belt. So.
What's it called again?
It's a belly belt. Yeah, belly band, something like that. So I think a lot of gun shops have it.
Yeah. There's thunderwear. I don't know if I would ever use that. I'm not even recommending that, but it's something that's out there.
Have the holster built into it?
Yeah. There's purses that are specially designed that have holsters built in there. There's many, 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 many concealed carry things that you can do if you're a woman, or for me, if it's in the summertime and wearing a pair of shorts. I'll get to you in just 1 second. Sometimes I want to carry something. This is just, I don't know if you've heard of 511 Tactical, but this is just a little thing that I can zip down and it keeps a gun in here. And And then this zips around. And I've got an extra magazine, flashlight, and then you can put whatever you, I have a bag in here, but you can put whatever you want in there. Just little options for concealed carry. With this particular one, you can keep it in your nightstand or in a safe nearby. And if a bad guy comes into your house, you can throw it over yourself. You might have some Band-Aids, you might have a cell phone, something in here, and a gun, and you can take it with you. So there's lots of concealed carry options. Lots of concealed carry options.
I was just gonna ask, does your friend for the quick clips, does he have a website? Or does he sell?
He does, and if you're interested, see me after class, and I'll get your information to give to you. Because I don't have any of his business cards. He's super busy right now, and he's a little bit behind, but he makes very good products. I have 3 or 4 of his holsters. So, did you have a question?
I was just gonna mention, there's a company called Sticky Holsters, STICKY, and that's an in-the-waistband holster that you can use so you don't need a belt. I don't usually wear a belt, so that's an in-the-waistband, and I have an example of that material, and it is sticky. So you can pull your gun out, and the holster will stay inside your waistband.
They got pocket holsters that you can stick right in your pocket. So if you basically go online and look for concealed carry options for women, for concealed carry options, you're going to find all kinds of stuff.
And even this purse has, this pocket goes
Perfect.
almost all the way across.
So I
can
carry
put
a
anything like that
backpack everywhere I go. And in this particular backpack, it's not set up, well, I guess it actually is. It's got this special pocket on the back, and it's got Velcro in here. So this just seems like standard ordinary backpack, right? I can carry around with me. But this particular backpack, if I do this, and I unzip it, I can get my holster out. I get my gun out. So they make lots and lots of options. Any more questions about concealed carry? What's the best kind of gun for home defense? One that you're going to use. What's the best caliber? One that you're going to shoot, right? 45, hollow point, pretty darn good. You can't really beat it. If you feel comfortable shooting the 45 caliber.
Don't you want a bullet that doesn't go through other people's houses when you shoot it?
Yep. That, to me, that's one of the most important things, and that's why I talk about having a plan. So I figure if a bad guy breaks into my house at nighttime while I'm lying in bed, I'm safe next to my bed that I can access my gun. If I'm going to shoot in that direction, where is this bullet going to go? In mine, I have right through my door, living room, window, neighbor. That could be a problem. So my plan is going to be, I'm going to have to move a little bit. I can't move too much because then all of a sudden my kid's room is there. It might go through walls. Those are plans that you need to develop. I'm also going to purchase ammunition that has the hollow point on there. It's going to expand, so if it hits plaster, it's probably going to break up. It'll probably go through it if it's just plasterboard, so I need to be aware of that. But a hollow point bullet probably isn't going to go through 4 walls.
Is that frangible that you were talking about?
This is not frangible, but there is frangible ammunition that'll completely break up. Quite expensive.
Okay.
Ammunition in general.
Hollow point.
Hollow point.
Okay.
And you can go online and, I don't know, 6 months later you'll get 25% of the information you need on ammunition. So training, we're talking about training. I know it seems like I'm rushing through a lot of this stuff, and I kick myself every time because I have so much information. It's so important that you guys get all this information, but we just start running out of time. But training with the responsibilities of gun ownership are quite huge, okay? If you decide to own a gun, it's not just about shooting, it's not just about shooting bad guys, but it's about everything else. You have family, you have kids in the house. Can you imagine? A guy that I know happens to be a Marysville police officer. You guys heard this story? Tragedy. And he's trained with firearms. I don't even like to think about that, but responsibilities of gun ownership are huge. So it's very important that if you decide to buy a gun, that you train with it very well. Most people that don't train with the firearm that they own, if they don't have enough training, the bad guys will take that gun from the person and use it against them. That happens a lot.
So that's actually one of my major concerns. I happen to be a risk management specialist in the insurance industry, so I look at things a little differently. And that's one of my biggest issues. Has there been any movement whatsoever on biometric safety measures for handguns?
Well, a little bit. I have a biometric safe. You're talking about fingerprint, right?
Yeah.
So my safe, I have a fingerprint safe, so it has to read my fingerprint to get in the safe. For handguns, they've tried that, and it hasn't been super successful yet.
It's very, very, very popular in Europe.
Is it?
Yeah, very popular in Europe, but they cannot get it passed here.
Well, I can't speak to that very much because I just don't have a lot of knowledge in it. So I do know that they have been working on that. So I don't have a lot to speak on that topic, but it can't be a bad idea.
My family, we all have biometric safes.
Some are good, some are bad.
Yeah, these are good. They're the only way I have a gun in my house.
Yep. I had a gun vault biometric safe that my guns were locked in it and it stopped reading my fingerprint. I'm like, what am I going to do? I had to call the company, and it's a whole other story. But anyway, so purchasing a handgun or a rifle, I mean, that's a huge responsibility. So when I talked about, many, many hundreds of rounds of shooting before you use it as a home defense gun, I'm not joking around. I mean, you buy a gun, and you need to go to the range, or you need to go find a place out in the woods, and you need to shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, and become so comfortable with that gun that there are no questions about how you feel about shooting it. You need to practice drawing your gun if you're going to have a holster, or if you're going to keep it in a purse. Wherever you might keep it, you're going to want to practice with that over and over again. When we change holsters in our department, we require our guys to take the holster, take your gun home, and practice drawing hundreds of times before you use it on duty. Hundreds of times. That's so important. You need to be very, very, very familiar with the inner workings of your gun. The first thing I teach is how to take it apart, put it back together, and clean it. Okay, you're going to do that a whole bunch before you even get to shoot it. Then I'm going to teach you, if I'm doing a personal firearms safety course, then I'm going to teach you how to shoot it without bullets. Maybe for half a day, right? On and on and on and on. Once I think that you're comfortable enough to shoot without bullets, then we'll go to the range and I'll give you a bullet. And you put it in the gun and you'll shoot one bullet, put the gun down, and we'll talk about it for a while. What do you think? Did it kick? Do you like the way it feels? So on and so forth. And then you can go on your own and you can shoot and you can shoot and you can shoot and you can clean it and then shoot some more, learn how to draw it, and after a few months of this, then maybe you can keep it as a home protection gun. So I would hate for you guys to think, I've never shot a gun before. I'm going to go over to West Coast Armory, buy a gun, shoot it at the range, and then take it home, and I've got a home protection gun. This is awesome. That can't happen. It just can't happen. So, anyone disagree with that? Now, if I was to go buy a gun for home protection, I'd probably be okay because I've shot a lot of guns and I have a lot of experience, and it's a little bit different. But if it's your guys' first time, then you really, really need to think seriously about this. So let me see where we're at. So boyfriend does not equal firearms instructor, right?
That depends.
That depends. If I'm your boyfriend, which that would make my wife unhappy, but I'd make an okay firearms instructor. So let me show you a little video of some stuff that maybe is not so good. There might be a swear word or two in there, sorry.
And pull it up.
Probably flash my guns around a little bit. I go, ooh, dude, my mom's gonna kill me.
So this is actually, it's pretty darn funny to watch. I spent hours and hours going through videos to try to put together a compilation for this particular class. And it is really, really scary. It's really scary. And one thing that really disturbed me is probably 85% of the videos that you watch, after someone shoots a gun, everyone laughs at them. Okay?
Yeah.
That's kind of sad, right? So you take this person who takes this young lady and puts this great big huge cannon in front of her, and they shoot it, and it hits herself in the head, and she falls to the ground, everyone laughs at her. I mean, that's tragic that they're laughing at this person when they're talking about guns. And I laugh at this because it's funny. I put these together, and I did it to be funny on purpose, but that's crazy. There's one video that I didn't put on here, where it's a very intoxicated guy with a shotgun. And it's a loaded shotgun, and he's walking all around, he's aiming it at his friends, and they're all laughing at him. And he ended up shooting it, and he falls over, and everyone laughs. And it bothered me so much to watch this video, even though no one got hurt. I can't even watch it. I'm ready for someone to get hurt. I'm ready for someone to get hurt. I've got people who I know who are very close to me, who are in law enforcement, who I've seen do some very stupid things with handguns and shotguns, family members, and I cringe, and I really want to put the message out that gun ownership, the responsibility of gun ownership is just so huge. It's so huge. Not everyone should own a gun. Some people should stay far, far away from guns. Guns and alcohol don't go together. Here I get all preachy, right? They don't go together. Guns are not for goofing around. Now, I love going out and shooting cans. I love going to the range, and that gives me a lot of pleasure when it's safe. Many years ago, I used to have a federal firearms license where I sold guns to people, and I used to sponsor a little shooting competition for friends and family of people who I sold guns to. And one year, my cousin, who was a little bit intoxicated, I wasn't aware at the time, was standing next to me like this, and he had a .357 in his hand, and all of a sudden, bang, it goes off, and the bullet went between our feet. Our feet were about that close together. He almost blew my foot off because he was drinking with guns. I actually have a piece of bullet in my leg. I don't know if you know this, Chief. I have a
HIPAA violation.
I have a bullet fragment in my leg from a .22 round that accidentally went off. And it's still there because it's too close to the bone that they didn't want to get it out. And they said it's not going to cause any problems. But this particular incident was really no fault of anyone. But accidents happen, and guns they can be very dangerous if they're handled inappropriately. So I've only got about 3 hours more left in this presentation. I'm joking. So I guess backing up all the way to the beginning of tonight, I don't know if you can tell or not, but I am very passionate about safety, personal awareness, firearm safety. I wish that I could sit here and talk for another 3 hours. I wish I could do this presentation once a week for everybody, because that's how important it is. Our community's personal safety is so important. If I somehow gave you just enough information to protect you from an attack or protect you from being the victim of a crime, then success for me, right? And success for you guys. If I give you just enough information to help you make a decision on whether you're going to purchase a gun or not purchase a gun, then success for me. And that is super, super important. I want to let you guys know that there's many, many training courses out there where you can take personal firearm safety courses. There's a card on the back table that has several different local firearm ranges: West Coast Armory North, North Point, Kenmore Shooting Range. On the other side of this card, there's universal firearm safety rules. There's safety, firearm safety in kids. There's information about knowing the law, how to carry, responsibility. It's a really good information card. It's provided by Jana from West Coast Armory. So she's going to be here after class a little bit. You can get some information from her.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Are things kind of lightening up in the shooting ranges? We tried to sign up after the San Bernardino for shooting, safety classes and whatnot. Boy, we couldn't get in for like a couple months.
Yeah. We've actually increased our classes, so we have basic handgun safety classes. When I first started in October, we were doing 2 a month. Now we're doing 8 to 9 a month.
Wow.
And then there's cleaning, and there's, they have a lot of different classes because the demand, they've started just training all the employees on teaching the classes. And yeah, that's just been in the last 6 months.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah.
So there's a lot of resources out there for you, and yes, the amount of people who are purchasing guns, purchasing getting concealed weapons permit has skyrocketed. Maybe it's because of the political environment out there. Is Obama going to take our guns, or Hillary, or whoever becomes the president, and all these types of things put scares into people, makes people want to buy guns, and that's fine. Just practice. And you can use this as fire paper if you want, fire starters, but before you do that, glance over that little sheet that talks about your personal awareness a little bit, and just hopefully it's not so much information that you're just going to forget about it. I want you to retain as much as you can, and it'll help maybe protect you from bad people, because there's bad guys out there.
Are all trainings kind of equal, or is there something that we should look for if we go away from this something or do mountain community? Like something that we should look for in the trainings, or is it just kind of?
You just read whatever the announcement of the training says. So if you have 0 experience, you're going to want to look for basic handgun courses. Or you're going to want to maybe find a course that teaches you about firearm safety that's not involving handguns to start with. But there's so many out there that just look through the internet, look through the local ranges, call, ask questions. Like I said, I would call and talk with West Coast Armory because they're the closest to here. I don't know of any others that are any closer. And they'd be a good resource just to ask them those questions because they're the ones that offer these classes. So they'll give you the best answers to those questions. So, hopefully this was informative for you guys. I understand it's 9 o'clock and it gets kind of late. You guys probably all have lives to live. So I am really, really happy we had a lot of people. Has anyone ever been to one of my seminars before? Anybody here? You have? Did I do worse? Did I do better? Or about this better? Okay. I'm learning more. So one thing that I want to ask is if you would be so kind as to read those peak forms about helping in the future, if you choose to do so. And I really, really want to thank you. Also want to thank Chief Wilson for allowing me to talk with you guys tonight. So thank you, Chief. And I will be around. I'll be around here for a little while. If you guys have any questions for me after class, I'd be happy to answer them. Do you have anything?
I just think Sergeant Lodi is a round of applause.